Joining us, I'm Laura Sheehan, Vice President of Communications and Marketing for the American Gas Association. As you know, AGA represents nearly 70 million customers that we deliver natural gas to nationwide. Today, Chris McGill, who is our Managing Director of Policy Analysis for AGA, will provide an overview of natural gas supply and demand indicators. Followed by him will be Mark Wolf, who is National Assistant Directors Association. He's a president there, and he's going to talk to us about the impact of rising energy prices on low-income consumers. And to wrap it up today will be Roger Cooper, who is our EVP of Policy and Planning at AGA. Thank you. And Chris, you want to come on up?
Thank you, Laura, and good morning. As Laura said, we're less about pronouncements today with respect to the coming winter heating season, more about trying to talk about what it means for a local gas utility to put together a gas supply portfolio and be ready to provide consumers with natural gas on that coldest day. Clearly, what has happened this year in the marketplace has been examined over and over in terms of natural gas prices. I hope to talk about a few other things that go into winter heating season planning also and give you a feel for what expectations may be. Clearly, the Energy Information Administration will be releasing its winter fuels outlook tomorrow. They're going to give you some numbers, and we'll look for those numbers too. As you try to describe and look at the marketplace this year, it's absolutely been extraordinary. In an attempt to compare apples to apples, if you go back to December of 2007, and if you looked forward through the balance of the winter heating season in 2007, natural gas prices, unit costs at Henry Hub, were ranging somewhere in the $7.05 range up to about $7.20. And actually, as you looked at the occurrences during the winter heating season, that's about what the unit costs to consumers were at the wellhead. At the same time, coming forward in June of 2008, looking forward on the futures market again through the 2008-2009 winter heating season in June, the expected price of the unit cost of natural gas was no longer $7. It was somewhere between $13 and $14, an extraordinarily high increase at this period of time. Most of you are aware of that. All energy commodity costs were going up. So why is this important? But that was then. This is now. Why does this matter to gas consumption for the coming winter heating season? Well, the fact is that you can find that answer in the LDC's commitment to supplying natural gas on the coldest day of the winter and timing. And it mostly goes back to storage. When we consume natural gas during the winter heating season, it's flowing supplies, but companies, local gas utilities, also store natural gas for winter heating season use. Over the course of an entire winter heating season, normally defined as the 1st of November through the end of March, somewhere between 15 and 20% of the natural gas consumed comes from underground storage. If you look at just the peak winter heating season month during a winter heating season, storage might account for 30% of the gas that is consumed. And if you went to an individual company and looked at the peak day of their consumption profile, you might find that for that company, 100% of their gas that they're sending to customers is coming from storage. So storage is very, very important. The thing about storage is that it's a process. We'd all like to believe that we could prepare for the winter heating season on that day where the costs for consumers would be absolutely the lowest. But that doesn't work. To get 3.4, 3.5 trillion cubic feet of natural gas into storage for consumers for the winter heating season, it takes time. And actually it starts in April, and it will go through a few days in November, actually, where we will see net injections of natural gas into storage. The costs that I just referenced to you in May and June, those high costs are near the prices that gas was being put into storage. Remembering that for local gas utilities, what they pay for the natural gas themselves is what is passed along to the consumer. They don't mark it up. The consumer pays what the market price was. So storage is the critical point. Now, what happened this year, when you look at this, is, as I noted before, it's a process. Companies start in late April, May, June, and all the way through the summertime refilling storage with natural gas. While they're doing that, there's a range of possibilities in terms of the amount of gas they need to inject to get to where they need to go. As I went around the country and talked to our gas suppliers this year, where there was the opportunity to put a little less in storage early when prices were really high, many of the companies did that. However, you still have to maintain your schedule to get that gas in, and of course those costs are going to be reflected as we go forward in the winter. Why is that? Again, I'd like to show you this graphic. This is a graphic that shows the pricing mechanisms for natural gas to meet the winter heating season peak day from 47 companies. The number of companies are listed on the vertical axis. The amount of gas on a percentage basis to meet that peak day in the winter heating season is on the horizontal axis. What this graphic shows is that, yes, there is diversity in how companies price natural gas, the pricing mechanisms they use. But clearly, the largest number of companies, looking at the tall blue bars, for the largest volume of gas that they put in their portfolio to meet those peak winter needs are based on the first of the month index. The first of the month index is a market price. It comes out of a bid week at the end of 1 month. That bidding process, that interactions between suppliers and consumers of gas, sets a price for the next month. That first of the month index then is the market. And that's what the regulatory community that oversees natural gas utilities tends to be most comfortable with in terms of prudency with respect to purchasing gas for consumers. So that first of the month index represents most of the gas that flows, and even gas that goes into storage. Although there's diversity in supply mechanisms for small volumes, the largest volumes by the most companies, again, use the first of the month index or the market price. So all of these pricing signals that we've seen and the ups and downs of the prices eventually get reflected back to the consumers into the cost of the gas that they use. Companies hedge their gas supplies. For most of the companies that I'm aware of, they can use either financial instruments, of course, or they can use physical gas, stored gas, as a hedge. Traditionally, stored gas in the summertime was cheaper than gas during the winter heating season. That made it a physical hedge. This year, that wasn't the case. However, as we have surveyed our companies, we found that essentially over 80% use financial instruments also to mitigate some of this price volatility towards consumers, which is very important. But still, I go back to the fact that ultimately and eventually, as the market goes up and down, those costs get reflected back to the consumers. Now, what were the factors during 2008 that were so critical? Well, clearly the higher oil prices. We started the year with a storage deficit compared to the prior year. Right now, actually, underground storage is about 1.6% above the 5-year average, but it's still a little bit behind where it was last year. The market takes that into consideration. We've seen lower LNG imports this year, and always